To enjoy the comedy of Martin Lawrence is to accept his outrageousness, from his stand-up to his sitcom Martin, to yes, the Big Mama's House franchise. Martin Lawrence used to be a bad boy of comedy. Saturday Night Live may well be the most lucrative late-night show, and the chance to perform is a commercial opportunity not to be missed. Often known for his somewhat erratic behavior, Martin was picked to host the show in 1994. As with the start of every SNL, Martin too began with an opening monologue, but his veered into a discussion about the story of Lorena Bobbitt, which included several jokes that pushed the limits of SNL's rules. Lawrence then descended into a bizarre tirade about female anatomy and personal hygiene, which caused protests from several SNL sponsors. This resulted in Martin Lawrence being permanently banned from the show. Actor Vince Vaughn often finds himself in sticky situations in his movies, and apparently behind the scenes as well. The funny man allegedly got banned for a few years from The Ellen DeGeneres Show in 2010. Vaughn raised some eyebrows following the release of his movie The Dilemma, where his character makes some controversial comments. In the movie, Vaughn's character makes a derogatory comment about being gay, and let's just say it also involved owning electric cars. Ellen took offense, and during a conversation with CNN's Anderson Cooper, they addressed the situation, with Cooper stating, "We've got to do something to make those words unacceptable, because those words are hurting kids." Jay Leno, the host of The Tonight Show since 1992, and Conan O'Brien, host of Late Night since 1993, were strong ratings leaders for NBC for much of the decade. But in 2001, when O'Brien's contract neared its end, and he was courted by other networks, NBC agreed to extend his contract, and eventually make him the fifth host of The Tonight Show. The only problem, though, the network neglected to tell Leno about this arrangement until 2004. That's when they informed him that O'Brien would be taking over as host in 5 years. When that time arrived in 2009, NBC tried to keep both of its late-night stars by offering Leno a nightly primetime show, along with O'Brien's Tonight Show. When O'Brien left NBC and moved to TBS to host his own late-night show following the return of Leno to The Tonight Show, he had just one rule: Leno will never be a guest. O'Brien was firm about this, even publicly turning down any hypothetical amount of money he'd be given for such an interview. In 1991, famous martial arts actor Steven Seagal earned himself a ban for reasons that perhaps should have been foreseen. Seagal didn't light anything on fire, blurt out any curse words, or indeed say anything any more offensive than what regular SNL viewers are accustomed to. No, he was slapped with a lifetime ban by the iconic television show for the simplest of reasons. He was labeled the least funniest human being to ever walk the earth. Sure, it didn't help that Seagal generally acted like a prima donna in the week leading up to air, alienating himself from the show's cast and just being an all-around jerk. Seagal has since been impersonated on the show 6 times, with Bill Hader and Will Ferrell offering some expert mimics of the star. When Frasier star Kelsey Grammer was booked to appear on Piers Morgan Live, Piers featured a picture of Camille Grammer in the opening credits. One problem: Kelsey and Camille had just gotten a bitter divorce. Before the interview was scheduled, it was made clear that Kelsey would answer all and any questions, including those about his ex-wife. His only request was not to show any images of her. Just before the show went live, Kelsey saw a test of the opening, and it included a picture of her. He requested it be removed, and was assured it would be before the show went live. At 9 p.m. when the show went on the air, no change was ever made. So Grammer, standing his ground, walked off set before giving the interview. Morgan then felt the need to state that the Frasier star was no longer welcome on Piers Morgan Tonight because of the incident. Andy Kaufman, perhaps one of the greatest comedians of all time, is often overlooked in the bigger picture of the art form. Kaufman, typically self-deprecating, once described himself instead as a song and dance man, and diverted attention away from his accolades, preferring to be the comedian's comic, and one who operated outside the normal boundaries of an entertainer. Saturday Night Live creator Lorne Michaels invited Kaufman on the show to perform rather often, even though he had mixed reviews. He was known for his act called Foreign Man, who was from a fictional island with a thick accent. But he also performed as the women's wrestling champion, which was the infamous and controversial act that drew the most attention. During the act, he would bring female volunteers from the crowd up to wrestle with him. Kaufman almost always won and would call himself the intergender wrestling champion of the world. SNL executive producer Dick Ebersol put Kaufman's fate in the hands of the show's audience. SNL created 2 phone numbers for audiences to call in to vote. One number was to keep Andy, and the other was to dump Andy. The viewers decided to dump Andy, and the cast members expressed their disappointment. CNN anchor Anderson Cooper has done hundreds of interviews over the years, talking to everyone from polarizing politicians to legendary celebrities. But there is one guest, well actually 8, that he said he would never allow to appear on his show Anderson Cooper 360. During another talk show hosted by Andy Cohen called Watch What Happens Live, Cooper played a game called Plead the Fifth. This is where Cohen asks his guests 3 questions, and they can choose to not answer one or to plead the 5th. For one of the questions, Cohen asked Cooper what guest he would ban from his show forever, to which Cooper replied, "The Kardashians." Cooper explained that they are already everywhere, so he has nothing new to say to them, so why have them? 4 years later, Cooper's assistant also echoed the same sentiment. Fresh off his Academy Award win for the 2002 drama The Pianist, actor Adrian Brody was riding a serious career high when he hosted Saturday Night Live in 2003. The story goes that Brody went off script and walked on stage to present his intro wearing faux dreadlocks and began to don a Jamaican accent in reference to welcoming the Jamaican musical guest Sean Paul to perform. The crowd fell silent, and it angered producer Lorne Michaels. Brody claimed that he was never officially banned from the show, and even enjoyed himself while hosting, but he hasn't been back as a featured host since. Brody's botched impression will likely live on forever as just another part of Saturday Night Live infamy. There's an infamous Late Show with David Letterman episode where Madonna can't stop swearing or cracking adult jokes, and even gives Letterman a pair of her underwear. But she wasn't banned from Letterman's show. For whatever reason, she instead earned the ire of Piers Morgan, and he has not been shy about his feelings about Madonna. When Piers took over Larry King's CNN show, he kicked it off by taking aim at the Material Girl. His beef with Madonna, according to The Hollywood Reporter, goes all the way back to 1999, when she announced her pregnancy. At the time, Piers was the editor of the Daily Mirror, and Madonna announced her pregnancy in a rival publication. Ever since, Piers has constantly called out Madonna publicly, with no response from her. And even when she made her Twitter account in 2012, Morgan responded by reminding the singer she was still banned from his show. With his trademark scream talk and controversial jokes, comedian Gilbert Gottfried seems like a perfect guest on The Howard Stern Show, and for a while he appeared quite often. Then mysterious circumstances led to an abrupt ban for Gottfried in 2012. Howard really only knew Gilbert from the radio show, so their connection was pretty limited. There was a run-in outside a fancy restaurant in New York City with their wives, where Howard described the interaction as awkward. During his show following Gilbert Gottfried's death, Howard stated that Gilbert acted as if he didn't know who he was at the restaurant. He was uncomfortable, distant, and not at all friendly, and so the comic never again appeared on The Howard Stern Show. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, and maybe even consider supporting the channel over on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching this playlist, and then visit the channel to search the Recollection Road Library. As always, thank you so much for watching.